everybody, we're going to do something a little bit different. I am bringing you a recipe, but it's not my own, and it's not something that I have tried over several times. I'm actually bringing you a recipe that I've never made before. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with it. We're going to score it. There's going to be 4 sections that we're going to be looking at, and each section you can get up to 5 points. So you can get a possibility of 20 points. Obviously, the higher the points, the better the recipe did. So this is what we're going to be scoring today. I've never made it before, but I can tell you it smells heavenly. And then after we do the scoring, I will give my final thoughts also. If for any reason you just want to see what the review looks like, you can go ahead and skip. I will have the timestamps down in the description. So let's get into this. I'm Nora, and you're watching Nori Lori's Keto and Health. As you've seen in the very beginning, we are going to be reviewing a recipe that I've never made. And you would think that after 3 years of doing keto, I would be a really great keto baker, right? I am not. There are some tricks and hacks that you have to know to keto baking, and these artificial sweeteners tend to stall me out, so I do not make a lot of fat bombs, cookies, or baked goods like that, except for every once in a while, just because I don't want to be stalled out. I want to lose weight, and I have a lot of time to make this stuff in my maintenance period. So I thought this would be really fun, and if you've been in the keto community, you've probably heard of this, All Day I Dream About Food. This lady is phenomenal on her recipes, and we need to give credit. And this recipe actually directs you to another site, and that's Pete and Jerry's Organic Eggs. And I'm going to put up that link right here because she deserves the traffic for all the time that she puts into the recipes that she does. That's only fair. So we are going to be judging or giving a score on 4 sections. So let's talk about what those sections are going to be. That first section is going to be, how easy is it to get the ingredients? Can you just go to your local grocery store or Walmart and get them? Or are you going to have to do a little travel or go to a specialty store? Or are you going to have to order that stuff online? That matters on what kind of ingredients you're using in your recipe, and they're going to get a score for that. Number 2 is going to be, how long is that ingredient list? Have you ever looked at a recipe and just got totally deflated from the long list of ingredients? Yeah, it is crazy some of the things that people put in here to try to replicate an almost non-keto food. And I appreciate all the work that they're putting in there to try to make it as non-keto as possible, but staying keto. And kudos to them. But sometimes those long lists, it gets expensive to make that recipe. So that is something else that we're going to be scoring. So number 3, how hard was the recipe to make? This kind of goes with my second point on the ingredients list. If you've ever seen one that had a long ingredient list, you know you're going to be referring back to the recipe several times. It'll be easy to confuse a step and might miss a step or not do the step correctly, which can affect, which will be number 4, the final product. So how easy or hard was it to make that recipe? It matters. And I know a lot of people take a lot of time trying to get these just right, and they put in several different steps to make that final product come out as, like the non-keto food as possible. And I appreciate that these creators are doing, but sometimes it is hard to replicate that in your own kitchen and get that final product, which is number 4. How close did your final product come out according to the recipe? I don't know about you, but I have made recipes that didn't even come close to what the pictures look like and didn't act like what they were supposed to in the recipe. So that's another important factor too, is how close did the final product come out to what it's supposed to be in that recipe. And then we're going to give a score because each section has a possible up to 5 points for a total of 20 points. And so we'll give the total of the score, and then I will give my final thoughts, and if I will make this product again myself, and if I will refer you and encourage you to make it yourself. So let's dive into this. We're going to go straight into what the ingredients are going to be. I'm not going to tell the amounts of the ingredients. That's, that's for our original creator. She needs all of that love. So I will show what the ingredients are, but not how much. And we're going to go over the steps to put it together, and then what the final product is, and then we'll score it. So let's get into this, and we're going to start with that ingredients list, a picture of the ingredients, and then we're going to go into the steps. All right, so here is our ingredients. Let's get started with the crust of this. We're starting out with almond flour. And I'm not going to be given measurements because this isn't my recipe. We're actually going to test this and review it for a couple of things. We've got the granulated swerve. We've got melted butter. That's a whole stick there. 1 egg. And this is baking powder and salt. And then, of course, almond flour is going to be going into the crust and the filling. So over here for the filling, we've got confectioner's sugar and Swerve's brown sugar, pumpkin spice, pumpkin, our butter, cream cheese, eggs, and again, that vanilla extract is going to be going in there. So those are the ingredients that we are working with today, and we're going to put this together exactly how the recipe goes, because like I said, we are going to review this recipe on several different factors. So let's get started. All right, so our very first step is we want to go ahead and preheat our oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we are going to go ahead and grease our pan. I'm going to start out with some avocado oil, and then I'm going to finish with a spray. You really, really want to make sure that you get these greased really well so that they don't stick, because keto baked goods just bake differently. So I'm just going to take me a paper towel and make sure I get up here on the sides too real good. All right. So I got that everywhere. And just for another coat, I'm just going to use some spray. Just make sure you get the sides really good. All right. So we're going to set that over here to the side, and we're going to get started with our crust. All right. So my first step is I'm going to get a large bowl and a spatula that I'm going to stir this all up with. So first things first, I don't have a sifter right now, so I'm going to just break up these lumps in here just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and put our granulated sugar in here. And we're going to start mixing that together. And then we're going to put our baking powder and our salt in here. We're going to give that a good mix together. I'm going to go ahead and pop this egg yolk on this. And we're going to go ahead and add that egg in here, along with this whole stick of melted butter. I'm going to be adding in my vanilla. We're going to go ahead and give this a good mix.
So that all looks really good incorporated. Make sure you wipe down or scrape down your sides to make sure it's all in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of ball this over here to the side, and we are going to get our baking pan. Make sure that your baking pan has already been sprayed. In this recipe, it's actually suggested not to use metal, to use glass. And we're going to try to spread this out evenly and up the sides. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and make the filling. And we're going to start off by creaming this cream cheese and butter together. So let's get this nice and smooth and see where we're at. So next we are going to go ahead and add our sweeteners, and we're going to blend those in until they're nice and smooth. So now we're on to the very last part. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients, and then we're going to go and blend these in until they're incorporated well too. Can't wait to see how rich of an orange color this batter is going to have from this pumpkin. Pumpkin spice here. Go ahead and again, do not forget our vanilla. Give this a good blend too. So this is going to be our last and final step. As you can see, my filling is not the prettiest. I did the best that we could. It started tearing in places, so we're just going to work with it the way that it is. So we're going to go ahead and put this filling in. I'm using my handy dandy spatula to try to get most of this out of here. if you watched any of my recipe videos, you know I do not claim to be graceful. So we're just going to spread this out as evenly as possible. So now we're going to put it in that oven that's 325 degrees, and we are going to bake this for 50 to 60 minutes. So what we're going to be looking for it to be done is it's going to be jiggly because it's a butter cake. It's going to be gooey. But what we're wanting is to see some firmness about 2 inches in around the edges. So according to how your ovens bake will determine on the time, but we're going to go ahead and check this at 50 minutes and see where we're at. All right, so I just took the cake out of the oven. It's been 50 minutes, and it's saying it needs to be firmed 2 inches from the side, and I don't think we're there, and still jiggly in the middle. So I am going to put it in for that last the last 10 minutes and see where we're at. All right, so I just took this cake out. We're at 60 minutes. As you can see, it's pretty brown around the edge. I'm just going to trust it, and I don't want it to become any more burnt because it is pretty brown around the edges. So we're going to let this cool down for a few hours, and we're going to try a piece, and then we're going to go over some key points about this recipe and see what we think. So wasn't those pictures of the final product amazing? I wish that you could have smelt it because it smelled so heavenly. It smelled just like pumpkin pie while it was in the oven. So I think, without further ado, we should just go ahead and start our scoring, with number 1 being how hard was it to get the ingredients for this recipe. And for me, it wasn't that hard. Everything that was in this recipe, I could just go to my local Walmart to get. Some of my other stores in my area has some of these products. Some of them don't have all the products, but Walmart definitely is probably going to get you where you need to be to make this recipe. So I didn't have to order anything. And so I'm going to give it a score of 5. The second one being, how long was that ingredient list? Now, this ingredient list wasn't, super long, but it was still a little bit lengthy because we were putting in lots of different sweeteners and stuff like that. Now, there was nothing that she could omit from this recipe to make it shorter or to work. You needed all those ingredients to make it work and come out the way it needed to be. But it was still a little bit lengthy, so I'm going to score it at a 4. It's still good. So the third thing that we're scoring on was how hard was the recipe. Ideally, the recipe wasn't that hard to follow. I didn't have to reference back to the recipe a lot. The only thing that I kind of had a hard time with was that first step of putting in that crust into the pan. It got thin in areas, and then it was hard to spread, and then you had to spread it up the sides, and it took a little bit of work, and it took a little bit of time to do. And because it became a little lengthy and tedious to do, I'm only going to give it a score of 3. And our fourth section is going to be, did the final product come close to what the recipe pictures showed, and did it perform the way that the recipe said it was going to? And for the most part, yes, it did. It held together amazingly. It looks very close to the pictures like I've already showed you. The only thing that kind of stumped me up a little bit was in the recipe, it said that it was going to pull away from the sides a little bit, and it was supposed to be like firm, like 2 inches in. And by the time I got to the 60-minute mark, it was already getting really brown, and I just didn't want to go any further.
that's the only thing that didn't correlate with the actual recipe. And I mean, that's the only thing that stumped me up. So on this part, I'm going to have to give it a score of 4. So each section there, we came up with a total score of 16. So ideally, this recipe did very well. I'm picking up my cake right now because we've got to taste test this. It smells really good. So let me taste test this, and then I will give you my final thoughts and if I'll recommend this. It's really good. The crust on it is sweet, but the pumpkin isn't too sweet, and I'm kind of happy about that because then it would have took away from the pumpkin flavor. So overall, yeah, I'm very satisfied with the way that this turned out, and I'm already can see that I am going to have a hard time not eating up all the cake. So my final thoughts on this is it did get a really good score. It had a score of 16. I really enjoyed it. It was easy to make. Like I said, there was just a few things that kind of stumped me up a little bit, but nothing that really changed the effect of the cake. You do have to let this cake fully cool down before you can cut into it, or it'll start to crumble on you. That was really hard because it smelled really good. So will I make this product again? Absolutely. I think it's amazing, and it's a great substitute if you didn't want to make pumpkin pie. You could definitely make this. Tastes very familiar, and I absolutely think that you should try this out yourself. So if you missed the web address for this recipe, I got it down in the description, so absolutely go show them some love. And another really great thing was there was a lot of good reviews for this cake, so I was really excited to try it and see how this was going to score. And I hope that you actually liked seeing doing a recipe in a different way, scoring it, and seeing from the score and actually making the recipe if I would recommend it, especially with me never making the recipe before. If you'd like to see more videos like this, absolutely give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe because you never know what I'm going to come up with. I am working on a new series that I'm thinking about doing. We got the first of the year coming. A lot of people are going to be making New Year's resolutions. And what happens a lot of times is you'll have 1 or 2 people doing keto and the whole family doesn't. So I'm going to come up with a series of what's for dinner, and I show how I make a keto dinner for myself, but it's not totally keto for the whole family. This way I'm only cooking one thing or one time, and it's not, believe me, when I go to cook my dinner, it's thought out, and I'm not having a whole bunch of dishes. I'm not especially catering to anybody, but I do make sure that I have what I need and that there's other stuff for everybody else so that we are having one dinner and we're sitting down and enjoying ourselves. So that'll be coming up here soon. And yeah, until the next time, y'all have a great day.